This is your Weather Xtreme video for Sunday, September the 27th. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters. We've got a ton of weather to discuss, so let's get right to it. There's a look at the surface map for the United States, and our big focus for central Alabama is on the high-pressure system that is over southern New England, and that is actually creating a weak wedge pattern or cold air damming pattern across northern Georgia, and basically into the extreme eastern counties along the Georgia-Alabama line. In the upper atmosphere, the weak low that caused us some clouds yesterday has moved into Kentucky. You can see it spelled out there with those little L's. But there is now a closed low over Texas and the Northwest Gulf, and that is helping to create a real stream of tropical moisture from the Yucatan and the southern Gulf up into the southeastern U.S., so we're going to be turning wet over the next several days. The surface map also shows us that temperatures are in the 60s for the most part across the central Alabama. Generally in central Alabama, the upper 60s. Across the Tennessee River Valley, we do see some spots in the mid-60s. But notice that easterly flow that we're getting coming around the southern end of the Appalachians, and that's the reflection of that wedge. And some stations in Georgia actually are reporting a little bit of light drizzle, but when you look at radar isn't showing much of anything, as you can see from the composite over the southeastern U.S., but moisture has increased to the south and rain's moving into parts of northwest Florida from the Gulf. QPF-wise, we're looking at on the order of 2 to 4 inches. I think the QPF is underdoing it just a little bit. There's a couple of uncertainties involved with this situation. One is that the tropical system may or may not develop into a tropical depression or tropical storm, but it doesn't really matter. We're still going to get heavy rain over the southeastern U.S. And the other thing is that fortunately it looks like that system is going to move fairly briskly. It's moving on the order of 5 to 10 miles an hour now, and it's likely to stay that way or get a little faster, which means we are not likely to see quite as much heavy rain over one spot. So the flooding issues are somewhat minimal. Let's look at the U.S. Drought Monitor, and that's also showing that we can use some rain. Much of the central part of Alabama is in abnormally dry conditions, while South Alabama and Northwest Florida is under what is considered severe drought. So we can use the rain. There's no doubt about that. Let's just hope it doesn't come too fast or too much, too fast and cause flash flooding. The Storm Prediction Center is not outlooking any severe weather for day 1. That's today through early Monday morning. Day 2, we do have a little bit of a marginal risk in northwest Colorado and the north or southwest parts of Nebraska. And day 3, we're back to just standard thunderstorms. Now let's get to the tropics. We've got 3 areas that we're looking at. Ida still is out there, but Ida's really not developing into much. We have a system over the to the south and southwest of Bermuda, and then we have this tropical disturbed area of tropical an area of disturbed weather over the Yucatan Peninsula. And we'll take these one at a time. There's a look at Ida. Ida is going to stay well out in the Atlantic and continue to be a bit of a tropical depression. It could be dissipating by later in the week. When we come over to the west a little bit, we get that system, and it only has a brief window of opportunity to develop, and it looks like it should stay away from the east coast of the United States. And then the tropical area of disturbed weather, whether it develops or not, is likely to move north and northeastward up into the Florida panhandle and give us some rain. But keep in mind that the heaviest rain is likely to be along and to the east of the track. All right, let's get to the GFS modeling, and GFS is missing out on a few points here. For one thing, I think today it's got entirely too much rain over parts of the Ohio and Tennessee River Valley, but we do have a threat of some showers. They should be fairly minor. On the upper air chart for this afternoon, you can see that we have that closed low over the southeast Texas coast, and the little bit of a low that moved up along the Georgia-Alabama line yesterday is moved well enough up that it's kind of out of the picture. By Monday, the closed low is still there, keeping that strong fetch. So keep in mind, this strong southerly flow is also helping to enhance rip currents along the Florida and Alabama coastline. And precipitable water really ramps up tomorrow. As you can see, the pinkish and magenta areas, and those are above 2 inches. But that dark red that's around that moves into central Alabama is also on the order of 1.7 to 1.9 inches. So we're going to have plenty of moisture to deal with. On Monday, we see that the GFS is once again suggesting that not much rain for central and north Alabama, and I think it's kind of missing the point here. By Tuesday, the closed low has begun to open up in response to being caught up by the trough moving across southern Canada and the U.S.-Canadian border, western Great Lakes there. And we can see that the precipitable water has moved up, has really ramped up over Georgia and into the Carolinas. And the area that's in magenta is where I expect the heaviest rains to occur. But for central and north Alabama, I do expect us to have a good beneficial rain. And on Tuesday, the GFS is now back with the program and is getting the rain, I think, distributed properly. Moving out to Wednesday, midweek, we see that the GFS is establishing a trough, and we keep that moisture a little bit off the coast and over South Florida. So they'll be having a wet week. And we can see that the GFS has brought the precipitation down quite a bit over our area, and I think that's probably right as the precipitable water falls down. Thursday, as I say in the discussion, the GFS goes wonky. It just has these troughs out in the west, and it's got this closed low over the Great Lakes extending down to the Ohio River Valley, and I think it's kind of, I don't know, I think it's lost its mind or something there. And but the thing about the precipitable water values is it looks like they fall for us, so it does look like we should be dry by this time. By the time we get out to Friday, it's still, I think, a little wonky. With this closed low that's also dumbbelling with these disturbances running around this closed low, and it doesn't show much in the way of precipitation, which would be right for the 1st of October because our dew points are down and the precipitable water is down. When we get out to Saturday, we can see this dumbbelling as these disturbances go around the closed low, kind of elongating it as the disturbances move around it. And precipitable water values for us are really down. So yes, some clouds, but I don't think we'll see much in the way of precipitation. And by a week from today, all of a sudden the GFS doesn't look as wonky. It comes back in with a good trough over the eastern half of the country, and that puts us in a nice northwesterly flow pattern, which would mean we ought to be cooler. Interestingly enough, the MOS guidance shows an 81 high for Sunday. I would think with this pattern we ought to see temperatures a little bit lower. It does show dew points dipping into the 50s, so we might have some cool mornings. All right, going out into voodoo country around the 7th of October, we see that the GFS is maintaining this trough, and it does maintain it from the 1st out to the 7th, so we're going to have a period of relatively dry weather. And then by the time we get out to the 12th, somewhere around the 10th or so, it begins to build in a weak ridge, and that is also dry. All right, that'll do it for the Weather Xtreme video for this Sunday. James Spann should be back with the next edition first thing on Monday morning. In the meantime, remember you can check back here for latest updates on Alabama's weather. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters. Have a great Sunday, and Godspeed.